friends, welcome to Tim's School of Fishing. Class is in session. Today, I want to talk to you about the cloudy, unsure history of a very unique knife pattern. Today, we're going to talk about the cotton sampler.
That's a crazy looking knife, dude.
Now, a lot of people have theorized and hypothesized as to the history of the cotton sampler. There's not a whole lot of information out there, so today I'm going to give you my take on the history of the cotton sampler. So without further ado, let's get this camera turned around and take a closer look. Alright, so today we're talking about the cotton sampler, and I've got three different cotton samplers out here on the table, and you can see right away that it's a very strange looking pattern. Now, the cotton sampler pattern is very polarizing. Some people love them, some people hate them. I happen to be someone who loves it. I think it's very unique. Now, the cotton sampler has some characteristics that stand out and are very unique. First of all, the blade shape. It kind of looks like a spay blade. We've got this abrupt clip up here toward the tip, but at the same time, it has a much deeper and bigger belly than a spay blade does. And then we've got this very flat area that looks like it should be a finger choil, but it's not a finger choil. It's almost like an extended tang or ricasso. So let's talk about where I think the cotton sampler originated. I've looked through some old catalogs and I was able to get a little bit of information, so I want to share what I found with you. Alright, so the oldest catalog I was able to find was a 1907 Schatt and Morgan catalog, and we can see what looks like a cotton sampler there, but it has a finger choil. Now, this particular pattern was not named in this catalog, so we're not sure what they called that pattern or how they identified it, but it is definitely a cotton sampler. What's different about it though is that it has a finger choil there and it's not flat. So that was the earliest representation I was able to find. Then in a 1933 Hibbard, Spencer and Bartlett catalog, I found another image of a cotton sampler. It says harvester or cotton sampling or belt knife, and you can see here that it clearly looks like a rope knife or a sailor's knife, and it has a very interesting description. It says it can be used for cutting twine, hacking, thousands of other uses, a harvester, ideal for cotton sampling, good for glazers, doors, scraping putty, and innumerable other things. So while this was called a cotton sampler, it was also marketed as a harvester, a belt knife, a rope knife, a putty knife. So completely different design on this one, and yet still called a cotton sampler. In a 1938 Mayer and Grosch catalog, we found one that's clearly a cotton sampler. It has all the characteristics of a cotton sampler, but it's called a skinning knife. Now, if you've done any skinning, you know that this is a great shape for skinning or caping because it really allows you to get your fingertip up on here and make those tiny little curving, detailed cuts, and it's perfect for that. So, 1938 catalog called it a skinning knife, but it's clearly what we know as a cotton sampler. Now, if we look at Schatt and Morgan's more modern cotton samplers, they're very similar to what we saw in that 1933 Hibbard, Spencer, and Bartlett catalog. They look more like rope knives. Old Hickory has a cotton sampler that is shaped more like the cotton sampler that we know, and I have one here. I haven't been able to get my hands on the Old Hickory cotton sampler. If anybody knows where I can find one, please let me know because I want one. So we also see cotton samplers as fixed blades. If we look at the Buck 103 skinning knife, you can see that it does share some similarities with a cotton sampler or a harvesting knife, kind of got that clipped point. It's got a big belly. So here's my take on it. What I think is that the earliest knives that were used for cotton sampling were most likely fixed blades. They were most likely fixed blades, and they were probably skinning knives that were then repurposed as harvesting knives, because this particular knife is sold as a harvesting knife to chop vegetables, lettuce, cabbage up out of the ground. It's also sold as a cotton sampler. So the earliest cotton sampler knives were most likely fixed blades that were skinners or harvesters, and then were repurposed and used as cotton samplers. And then later, we saw some skinning knives that were folding knives, slip joints, and they were sold as skinning knives first and then later called cotton samplers. And most likely the original slip joint knives that were cotton samplers were more like rope knives or sailor's knives, and then this was used later. So what is a cotton sampler used for anyway? Well, it was used by textile merchants that bought cotton. Now, cotton is classified based on what's called staple length or staple size. And the staple is the length of the cotton fiber. So we have what's called short staple cotton, which has fibers that are only about 1 1/8 long. That's called upland cotton. Most of the cotton grown in the United States is short staple, and it's used for things mostly like denim or fabrics that are not very soft. Then we have what are called long staple cottons that have fibers 1 1/4 inch. And then we have extra long staple cottons that have 2-inch fibers, and those are what we call Pima cotton or Egyptian cotton, and those are used for sheets and things that need to be softer, right? So extra long staple cotton is more premium cotton. Short staple cotton is a less premium cotton. People that worked in the textile market that bought cotton would go to the cotton gin, and they would take samples of cotton bales, of the initial cotton bales before they were compressed and sold. And the idea was they would use this spoon or spatula-like tip to burrow into the bale, pull out a plug of that cotton, and then stretch the fibers across this finger choil or extended tang here. And they would spread the fibers across there to not only measure the length, but to see the consistency of the staple lengths. So that's the idea. We don't have any images of anybody actually using a cotton sampler to do that. So we're not sure if they even used these or if they just started calling these cotton samplers at a later date. So very cloudy and unique history. My take is that we had fixed blades and folding knives that were most likely originally used for skinning and harvesting, and even some rope knives that were later repurposed and used by people in the textile industry as cotton samplers. And then this has become the most widely accepted, agreed upon pattern for the cotton sampler. I know that's probably not much help in elucidating the very cloudy history of the cotton sampler, but that's my take on it. I think it's interesting. I love the pattern. As always, guys, I appreciate you for watching. Give me a thumbs up. Drop me a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the cotton sampler as a pattern. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think about the history of the cotton sampler? Do you think I'm onto something, or do you think I'm way off base? If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Just click my logo right over there. That's it for this episode of Tim's School of Fish, boys and girls. Class dismissed.